This is a shift. Tokenization of real world assets is a shift. Larry Fink himself has mentioned several times that actually ETS is just phase one, and it's the little brother or sister, to the next phase, which is the tokenization of, he says, all financial assets. Let that sink in. Tokenization of all financial assets.
Now, this is a really interesting conversation. Real world assets is one of those things I think is going to be quite big in 2024. And Twin is one project that is taking real world assets by storm. And I have Thomas joining me on this episode to give us a really big update about Twin, what they've been up to since we last had conversation. And of course, this space is moving pretty fast as well. So we're going to get an update and insights into what's happening in the real world asset tokenization space. Thomas, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Peter. Great to be here.
Now, for those that don't know about Twin, I know there's probably a couple out there that still don't know. Can we get a real quick overview of what Twin is and what you guys are trying to achieve?
Yeah, sure. So Twin is a RWA platform. We are focusing our initial build on Cardano, and the real world assets that we are bringing to chain first starts with investor grade or fine gold, and that will then be followed subsequently by investor grade or silver bullion, platinum bullion, and palladium bullion. Once we have gone through tokenizing those four metals, that's where actually I'm not quite sure which other asset class we'll go after next, but that's what we want the community to help us decide. But it's very exciting.
Yeah, I think tokenizing precious metals such as gold is just a perfect use case for RWAs. But can you explain to the audience why you would want to tokenize gold? I've been in a lot of X spaces where we've had this argument and some people just still don't understand it. But can we get an explanation of why?
So gold is, once you start to analyze it, it's really incredibly interesting. If you think about it, it's an asset that's it's been around since dot. It has a value that is globally understood, and it's not in dispute. I think we can agree that it doesn't matter what corner of the globe you live in, you understand that gold is valuable, and what tokenization of real world assets is really delivering and opening up is that we have a ton of assets, and it's not just precious metals, but this is where we're going to sort of obviously talk about. That's our focal point at Twin. But a lot of these assets, and particularly gold, they haven't really been that accessible. If you think about a widespread audience, they've been, even to date, the amount of gold that is purchased, you'd be amazed of the tiny percentage. If you look at the world's global population, a tiny percentage that actually are the ones that buy and continually buy gold. So that's skewed. If you think of a seesaw or an equilibrium, that seesaw is no fun to be on that seesaw, because the idea is that when if you think back when we were little, seesaw was you both have a go. But in this case, it's not really. The mass retail market haven't really had the same opportunities, but tokenization is changing all that, and that's it's not just sort of relevant for gold, but it's a great sort of start for people to understand. And what we at Twin love is this vision of understanding that soon, whether you're in Bangladesh or Bolivia or whatever it may be, and really no matter how much disposable sort of investment funds you have, you will be able to, if you so wish, invest and hold gold. And we think that would be an amazing position for many people to have.
I really think so as well. With inflation in many countries, people are looking for different ways to protect their value that they've received. So they're getting the Argentina dollar. I don't know what it's called, but they could easily get real world assets. Peso? It's peso there too.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
They can exchange it for this real world asset, tokenized gold, and protect their value, which I think is so important. You need those options for users out there. So this is going to
Well,
be a big part of the ecosystem, I think.
you've just chosen one of my favorite words, and that's options. You know, I'm really sort of using this, and then every chance I get, because right now, Peter, if you decide you wake up and you're going to put a little bit of your spare capital into an investment, right now, there aren't many options, really. If you think about it, you may just choose to buy some ISAs, or you may choose to top up your pension fund contributions, or you may choose to put it in a bank that's offering a sort of ridiculously low, but they say it's a good enough interest, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Right. And you would be one of the lucky ones because of where you live. Think about then others that live in other areas of the world, and they have fewer options. What tokenization and what we're really passionate about is tokenizing gold, tokenizing silver, platinum, and palladium. You know, the four assets that we have that we have really good source to and access right now. We can then start to offer these new financial options to people. So they actually then can decide if they want to put their whatever it is, whether it's 50 or 500 or 5,000 or 50,000, it doesn't really matter. But the point is, Twin actually opens up these options to them. So I love it that you actually, obviously, great minds think alike, because we're you touched on this word, which really then sort of helps to paint this great picture, this wonderful picture that really is at the heart of Twin, which is about creating, as I said, new financial options, tools that people can embrace and hold, and they can actually start to manage their own wealth.
And I think the interesting aspect of it is that you are the RWA is backed by gold, and you guys have partnerships and working with potential partners to work with for that gold reserve, and then it's all kicked in and working in the background like that. Can you talk a little bit about that for those that don't know? We did speak about this in previous interview, but can you explain how those aspects works, or who you're potentially working with there?
Right. So yeah. So the RWA is the actual asset. In this case, it's gold. So you've got the token, and you've got the gold that sits one to one fully behind the token. That is why we're called Twin. A lot of people also ask about this, because the two V's actually represent the token, and the token is a digital reflection of the actual physical asset. So there lies the key to why we are called Twin, and that's our brand. So our supplier has been in the precious metals business for decades. They are a regulated financial group. They're regulated by the GFSC, which is the regulator in Jersey and the Channel Islands, as well as the GFSC in Guernsey. What's great about working with such a legacy company is that all the checks and balances that they have had in place and continue to have in place are automatically then the same checks and balances when it comes to auditing, when it comes to sort of knowing that when we take an order and we take funds for minting our gold token, that the gold will actually be purchased and put into the right custodianship. And all those checks and balances will give, the clarity, the transparency that is very important for Twin and our whole operation, our whole service to thrive. So what I will say is that if you were to wake up, it's the second time I'm using this analogy, but if you were to wake up this morning and say, okay, I think I'm going to tokenize gold, that's a great idea. I wouldn't sort of try and sort of quash your ambition. The issue you're going to have is finding a supplier that is, one, willing, and two, has enough capacity to make it actually whatever your platform would be called, the Peter platform, to make the Peter platform worthwhile. This is so, I come across and I hear a lot of people wanting to tokenize, say, gold, but the actual suppliers that are institutionally recognized and have the right type of certification, because ours is LBMA certified, which we can get onto that. That's also very important. certification to hold. Those type of suppliers are very, very few and far between, and that is one of the key aspects to why Twin is already so successful.
So, since you mentioned that certification, what is that certification, and how is it relevant to what you guys are doing?
So the LBMA is a London-based organisation. It stands for the London Bullion Market, and it follows the gold and the silver and the other metals that we are tokenizing. They follow the market rate or the spot rate of LBMA. Now, LBMA is right at the top of the certification pile, especially when we are talking to institutions. And I can explain why this is also very important for further adoption, especially retail adoption. But when we're talking to institutions and we want to sell our gold token to them, one of the first questions they ask is it LBMA certified? The reason why institutions care about that is that when they buy it, if they want to then offload that asset and sell it on, they're going to also need to be able to cite that it's LBMA certified, because within the institutional world, it matters. And whether, if you have tokenized gold that isn't LBMA certified, you're going to then have more issues in terms of getting that institutional inflow of custom onto your platform. Now, the reason why institutions is important is, if we're looking at, for example, the last few days, BlackRock has just come out and said that they're going to be tokenized, or going into a tokenized fund. This is really critical, and it's very, very exciting. But whether you like it or not, the average retail customer, and when I mean retail, I mean someone who's not a high net worth individual, the average Joe on the street, they look to institutions to see how they ought to then perhaps invest themselves. So if there's a lack of institutional adoption, and crypto, some years ago has been very aware of this. There's been a lack of institutional adoption. I'm not saying that it is improving, but if you go back some time, then of course you had this sort of this group of non-believers, because they don't understand, if it's so good, why aren't these institutions coming in? Why don't we see them taking these steps? However, when this same group of people start to see that institutions are, they start to see their direction of travel, and I believe actually it's subconscious more than conscious, but they just then, it's like a magnet, they get drawn in. And I have these heated debates sometimes with family and friends of whether that's good or bad, but I just say it doesn't matter, because it is what it is. The institutions, when they make moves, and especially when you have an institution of the size of BlackRock, other institutions will then follow. That's an important step. And then behind the mass adoption of institutions, you then start to have mass adoption of retail. And let's not forget, where do we want to go at Twin? We are very passionate about, going back to what I was saying, passionate about offering options, new financial mechanisms, tools, options to the retail market. But we can only see that, we can only sort of enjoy that, realize that, knowing that the institutions have already made their sort of direction of travel clear and are in our sector. So that's why institution adoption is important. It's not so much that we care to make institutions, or give them a better position. It's just that it's necessary for us to actually realize what is important to us, as I said, which is at the end of the day, giving those options to retail customers, investors.
Okay, so we have that certification, the LBMA certification. We have BlackRock now looking into RWAs and tokenizing themselves on the blockchain as well. So are we going to see a massive influx of other institutional investors, hopefully, when you guys launch?
Yes. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but yes, we are. This is not just a new fangle dangle development in this current bull cycle. This is not some new fad that will it's all the chat now, but it will fizzle away. This is a shift. Tokenization of real world assets is a shift. Larry Fink himself has mentioned several times that actually ETS is just phase one, and it's the little brother or sister, to the next phase, which is the tokenization of, he says, all financial assets. Let that sink in. Tokenization of all financial assets. Now, if I'm not saying that he's right, I personally believe that he's right, but it doesn't really matter whether it's all or whether it's, again, 80% or 70%. We know there's going to be a significant amount of financial assets that are well suited and will be tokenized, because there's so much advantages to a tokenized position. Just think of the operational and capital efficiency gains that institutions get through tokenization. Even if those gains are slightly, in terms of percentage, slightly in their favor, at the quantities that they are investing, it's a lot of money. Those gains. So of course, you're going back to your question: will other institutions come in? Sure. If nothing else, because of the gains, because of the financial gains, the operational gains that they're able to harness, because they're a business, they have shareholders. It's their job to make their business more streamlined, more profitable. And this is now clearly understood. So it's a yes in capital letters.
That is super bullish. Well, it just makes sense, because if they're using a tokenized asset which they can trade more easily against, right, gold against silver, maybe even, that sure, just makes sense. They can trade that, make an extra couple sure of $1 billion in a few hours, and give their shareholders just that much more profit. And this is a massive advantage if yeah, the competition isn't doing it.
Right, but it goes well beyond that. It's also that you can take something, we call it like a static asset, like gold. So traditionally, you buy gold. Gold follows, in our case, the LBMA market. Wonderful. Market goes up, you're doing well. Market goes down, tighten your seatbelt. But with tokenization, you actually offer, or at least with Twin, we have a very special model. It's a monetization model where the tokens, as I've mentioned, are fully backed by the asset. If we take the underlying asset, and we've already got heads of terms agreed with an offshore bank, and the LTV that we've been given is an amazing ratio. It's an 85-15. So what that means to your listeners is that if we say have 10 million of gold as just to use a generic number, 10 million of gold is the underlying asset, we could actually borrow 8.5 million using this 85-15 LTV ratio. And what do we do when we borrow that, and we borrow it in say dollars? We can then on behalf of the token holders, we can then invest into, say, short-term US T-bills. Okay, they don't give they give, in terms of the scale, they give the sort of the bottom end of an APY, but they can see, at a 3-month maturity, they're considered to be one of the safest. I'm not going to use the word safe, but one of the safest financial verticals that you can actually, or asset classes that you can actually go into. Now, before, like I said, if you had gold holding, the gold was static. Your portfolio didn't increase. So it's also now through tokenization. What people are realizing is actually we can actually create passive income from a portfolio before that actually never increased, and that is, if that, especially in my opinion, especially if some of that APY or potential return is then passed on again to retail users, this is a win-win. So if everybody is just if their fingers aren't too sticky, and they just think, okay, we can earn some, and we can also pass some on to our retail customers. Can you imagine how fortuitous and how much of a stabilizing element this will be, in our macroeconomic environment? It's just going to be a very sought after and welcomed development, in my opinion.
That's Amazing. So just to confirm, you do have an agreement to get that borrowing split, the
LTV,
85/15
yes, yeah.
LTB. What's that stand for?
LTV, loan to
LTV,
value,
loan to
loan
value.
to
Right.
value.
Gotcha.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, an 85/15 is just mind-blowingly amazing. But the reason is because the offshore bank that's given us those terms, they value gold as one of the most precious assets. So this is just another indication of again, what we're doing at Twin is tokenizing an asset that really is valuable. There aren't many other assets that you could put down as collateral and get the same terms. What's even more exciting is that to borrow, I use the example, we put down 10 million in gold, we borrow 8.5. The cost to borrow that 8.5 is only 1 to 1.5%. So it's just a little bit over what central banks are offering. So it's very, very sweet, and it means actually we can even with if we, because there are many other financial assets that we could look into, but even if we kept the very, as I said, conservative UST bills, even if we were getting 5.5 or 6% APY on that, and you minus the 1% for borrowing the money, you're still left with something that's worth sharing, and therefore it's a real incentivization for people not to invest into physical but into tokenized gold.
All right. This is really cool. Having that extra yield on top, I think, is a really good play, and having that flexibility in being able to borrow that, provide the yield, get the UST bills, it just sounds perfect. So, you guys have been busy over the last 8 months, organizing and getting this all in place.
Yeah. Yes, we have. We've been very busy, and it's not really the type of achievements that we can come out and talk too much about, because a lot of this is work in progress, and the parties that we're engaged in, whether it's the offshore bank that's giving us these heads of terms or whatever it may be, they aren't really. They're not really in the business of us sort of going out and shouting from the rooftops. Things are. This is where we're working. We're working along with what's considered to be correct from the conventional side of the financial services. So it has been in one way a sort of we've been super keen just to sort of say what we're doing, but we're having to keep it very modest in how we present, and only when things are really a sort of signed, done, and ready for the actual operational commencement is it really the time to sort of talk about it, because otherwise you're just going to be poking people in the wrong way, and that's not what we want to do, obviously.
Yeah.
What I will say though is that this is also this whole monetization and what we just explained, or what I've just explained. This is also why it's crucial that we go after licensing, why we are compliant, because none of this is possible. You can't just do this, by setting up a DeFi platform and say, I'm going to do it. I mean, if you could do, but good luck. You're not going to get far. So the necessity to be fully compliant and to be working with regulators and to tell them, this is what we've been doing also for the last 6-9 months, is telling the regulators where we see we're going to have operational businesses, telling them what we intend to do, because they like that. They when they understand that we have ambitions to come into their jurisdiction and to start doing, to start operating and start offering our services, institutionally wise or retail wise. The key, and what I found very helpful, is actually to be proactive, and this of course is done through the help of legal counsel, and where lawyers can actually then make the introduction to their contacts within the regulatory authorities and so on and so forth. But so all of that good stuff that I've just explained about how the advantage of tokenized gold versus physical is dependent on the right type of licensing in place. Now, what I can touch on, and this is a really another great update is that we have now identified a partner within the European single market. So it's one market, but it's a huge market. And it also encompasses EFTA as well, which are three other countries: Norway, Liechtenstein, and Iceland, which sit outside of the EU single market, but benefit from the same sort of rules and legislation was the word I was looking for. So we found a partner that we are in advanced talks. It looks very positive that we're going to form a collaboration. They have a full suite of MiFID II licensing that is specific for digitalized assets, aka tokens. Their license, or their suite of licenses, that sits or straddles both sides of the aisle. So it's not just applicable for accredited and institutional, but also retail. So what this essentially means is that right from the get-go, we have the possibility, assuming that we get this collaboration done, and I believe we will, we have the possibility not just to sell our token, but actually under license to offer retail across the whole of the European single market our monetization model, like I just described. So that means that you, Peter, you're living in Portugal. You could then understand very quickly that if you invested into, say, 10 of our gold tokens, then those 10 gold tokens could then be vaulted in our digital vault under the licensing, thanks to our partner, and actually over a time that you would specify, whether it's a 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or whatever it is, then the asset behind those 10 tokens, the gold, will start working in your favor.
Okay, so all I have to do is move to Portugal once you get this launched, and then I can participate in this tokenization of gold. I heard a lot of people moving over to Portugal. I know people in Australia here that are doing exactly that. So it may be on the cards.
We will come to Australia. It's a very good starting point, but we're coming.
Okay, so fingers crossed we'll hear more about that partner, that collaboration in regards to getting that licensing in place. So I'll hit you up as soon as I see that tweet come out and everything's official and we can actually talk more about it. Please do that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, I can't imagine how much it costs to get all of this legal work done, and the last 9 or so months of meetings with all of these organizations and whatnot. How on earth are you funding yourselves? Because I know that there's no token sale at the moment. There's a token coming
soon. Though.
Exactly.
Soon.
Yep. So you guys must have been doing something to get the things rolling.
Yes, we have. And I will say that the reason why we haven't gone into our private token sale is also because we've been waiting for the market to be in the condition that we now see it in, number one. But also, two, we've needed to, we know, no prizes for guessing, but we're going to do everything fully compliant. So there is actually a structure. There's a structure that we need to have already set up, which is now in the process of being set up, where we will have a compliant issuer. Our issuer, or the twin company that will be the issuer of our Twix token, will be coming out of the BVI, and then we have a separate entity that actually collects in the funds, because it is a sort of, I'm going a little bit it's quite deep here, but it's interesting. If you are a BVI issuer and you don't actually collate in the funds, you don't need a VAS license, but you are actually allowed, that entity can then also give the fiduciary responsibility to another entity to collect in the funds. So it's all this, it's all these structures that take time to understand. But we are very, very clear and have always been in our communication, especially because when we're talking to regulators and because of all the need to be in constant communication with these authorities, that to do our private sale and then our subsequent public sale, and these will happen before our TGE, then we also need to have our compliance structure also laid out and ready. So that's also together with the timing of the market, that's also why we've been saving our private sale to now, basically. So we have had an angel investor who's been incredibly supportive. I've also put in my all my savings, as has my co-founder Lisa. We're very good at making money work hard for us. I will also say that actually, from the legal perspective, it's been amazing how much time that also lawyers have given to us. I think this is a testament to what they see. They see that Twin really has got it's got all the I's dotted and T's crossed, and that we are for a law firm. This is something that they can see as a long-term partnership. So sure, there are some costs that have to be paid. And of course, we've been extremely grateful to those that participated in our ISPO, because we raised over 200,000 ADA. And of course, that money has also been, that ADA has been then utilized towards all of these very important steps that we've taken. But it's been a combination of being, as I said, being very careful with the funding that we've received so far, but also I've been absolutely amazed, and I'm extremely grateful for the amount of knowledge and insight, especially that our legal teams have given us. As I said, based on the fact that it's a testament. It really makes me realize just what they see and why they would be willing to basically invest their time into Twin.
Yes, like you said, if they can see that the potential is there, it just makes sense for them to back you guys and help you along the way to make it all happen. If you know the right people, if you have the supplier there in place, you have the licensing almost
potential
ready to go.
Yep.
Potential, yep. Then it just makes sense to help you guys get across the line, and then they'll have a massive client to work with in the future. So it makes sense from that point of view.
It does, and it's a win-win, and it feels really nice as well, because you actually get down on a really sort of humane level, where actually, we understand that people need everyone needs to put bread on the table. I get that, but it does warm the cockles, as we say in English, that when someone is also going that extra mile because they really believe in what you're doing. And so it's a fantastic way to strike up a relationship and a starting point to then allow that to flow naturally as we progress and we follow our trajectory.
Do you have any customers at the moment that would potentially be purchasing the gold when you guys launch eventually?
We actually have advanced orders already, which are super exciting. So we have a legacy financial institution that is now. So I'll come back to that. I need to mention something first. So we're currently in a seed round, and this seed round is closing. We have approximately 2 weeks left before we get to where the seed round will formally close, and it's going extremely well. We've been in touch with several investors from the conventional side of the financial sector. We've been in touch with them since sort of August, September last year, and it takes time with these guys. It's for anyone that's raised money in crypto, and I have certainly done that on another project. You can't compare the amount of sort of commitment you need to give in terms of timing and the patience. They're two different worlds, but there's logic behind because they're much more about long-term investment rather than just trying to flip by coming in and trying to flip and make a return. This is about actually coming into where they see potential and then riding with that project or riding with Twin in definitely the medium, but most probably the long term, because they see there is advantages of building up actually an ecosystem. So that's the way that they think. This legacy financial institution that we've had in our sites now for many, many months, They are now waiting for us to give them the confirmed the confirmation that we have closed our seed round. As soon as we have done that, we know exactly where they will pick up, and we know exactly the sort of the final stretches that we need to walk through to also bring them on board. So this is again, very soon, Peter, I will come back on and I will be able to actually not talk about it in terms of legacy companies, and I will just give you the name, and then
yeah, those vague mentions of whoever they are. Yeah,
I will just give you the name, but it's been a long process. It's been a thoroughly sort of, in terms of an educational, a very rewarding process. But we know it is literally like a jigsaw puzzle where when you start with a jigsaw puzzle and you can't see the picture when you start, but you've got the frame, you've got the corners, and but now we actually see the picture, and we can see that all we got to do is just get the last few. We know where the last few pieces are because we can see them, they fit, and we just got to slot them in.
Majorly exciting. Okay. We'll just have to wait. It's close out that seed rounds. Come on, hurry up. It sounds very soon, so I'm pretty excited. I'll keep my eyes out for all these announcements as soon as they come out. I'm sure you get that seed round closed as soon as possible, and everything else lined up.
And what I was going to say, and it's because of the types of investors we're talking to, just because I didn't want to leave that last point hanging. That's why we've got advanced orders on our gold token, because those that I've been able to talk to in confidence under NDA, and they know what we're doing because we have these NDAs in place, so I can tell them precisely who I'm talking to, precisely what I need to do in order to bring in the sort of the more conventional or legacy investment, that will come after seed, for example. Then they understand that it's right for them to issue advanced orders, and that's what we started to also collect in. So on the first day of our platform's operational commencement, we will already be putting through at the very minimum 100 kilos of gold in order, in terms of 100 kilos worth of gold of our gold token, and that's amazing, and these orders are going to keep on, I'm sure, coming in. So as soon as on our first day, it's going to be we won't just be ringing the bell, but we'll be processing some really good sales.
Yeah, 100 kilos of gold. How much is that worth these days? It's
today. I mean, that would be about a $7 million sale on day one. So, and that's just a taste. It's just a very small taste.
Okay.
Because but this is really where and every time I say this, people are really then sort of their ears prick up, their eyes sort of open up. They understand exactly that this is going to be phenomenal. And I go back to what I was saying at the start. I mean, we love and we're so passionate about bringing precious metals on chain, but think about all the other RWAs that we haven't even touched on. That when we think about the enormity, I mean, what about intellectual property? What about agri-commodities? What about other raw materials? And the list goes on and on and on. And so it's the future's really bright.
Yeah, RWAs are definitely the big topic for 2024. So we'll see what happens, what else comes out of this. Now, you mentioned a little bit earlier the ISPO, and recently that has now ended. You did manage to raise like a decent amount from that to keep you guys going. What's next for all of those delegates to those two particular pools? When do you think they'll see tokens? When do you think the claiming process will happen? All that stuff. Do you have any details about that just yet?
Sure. So the process, the claiming process, will be aligned with the TGE, which will be happening in quarter two. So we're it's not too far away, which is great. And once the delegators have gone through the onboarding process or the KYC process, where they're able to then claim their Twix token, then their tokens are then obviously released to them, and the relevant vesting schedules then start to roll out. So yeah, it's now all happening in a matter of weeks. So it's really right from when seed closes, we then hurry. Sort of, I'm not. I'll change the word hurry because it sounds like we're going to sort of, perhaps trip up over our laces. But we know we've got a plan, which is C closes, we go swiftly into our private token sale, public sale, and TGE, and this is all going to be happening in the next subsequent weeks. And then obviously as I said, those that kindly, and we're very grateful for the delegators into our ISPO, then that TG they'll be also then be able to receive and be aligned with the Twix tokens that they have received in rewards.
Brilliant. I'm one of those delegates, so I'll be keeping an eye out for those updates for the TGE and everything else around that, so we can start claiming the tokens after that event.
Fantastic.
Now, is there anything else that we need to talk about here? We've gone through so much from the certification, the potential yield from the gold as well, changing it from a static asset to something a lot more dynamic and yield earning, to all these other aspects around the seed and the funding and everything. So what else? Is there anything else?
There is. Yeah, I mean, there is something that we've now been working on for some time, because we understand that if you have those 10 gold tokens that I cited earlier on, and you put those into the digital vault, and under licensing, we can then help earn an APY. That's great if you, Peter, are able to sort of, or you don't need to access your portfolio. So you don't need to access the liquidity. But another idea is that the others that let's say that you have some funds and you put them into our gold token, then suddenly something happens because you need new tires on your car, or life happens. Another idea is that by putting your gold token into the vault, you then don't necessarily, you could choose not to opt for the APY, but actually to mint your, or based on the amount of gold that's proportionate to what you put into the vault, you could actually mint stablecoin. And we've now been talking to several of our friends that again, I'm going to just not mention them by name because, but I'm sure some of your listeners can put two and two together. And so this idea would be that as long as your gold token is then in the vaults, you will have the ability, or could have the ability to mint stablecoin, so that you could then go off into the DeFi space, and you can actually, if you wanted to, use that to earn more, or you could buy those tires for your car, or whatever it may be. So this is something which is about accessibility. Again, it's options. That's why I remember I said at the start, I love this word, options.
I like
the
options.
more options you have, I like options too, and the more options you have, the more you can actually start to really manage your wealth, because this is really important. And if you're doing just fine, and actually the gold that you've bought through our token is kind of like your nest egg, and you want to see that nest egg grow through shared APY, that's amazing. But if you also need to access the fluidity, the liquidity of the assets that's behind your assets, then we should be able to offer that to you as well. And so this is something that we haven't. It's of late, so we haven't really updated our material. But you're one of the first, at least publicly, to hear that we're focusing on this. We have got, as I said, some really cool conversations going on, and I can absolutely see that it's another incentivization for buying tokenized gold versus physical gold. Because if you bought a physical gold coin or bar or whatever it is, can you actually mint a fiat-backed stable coin from that? Hell no, of course you can't. So, but through Twin, you can, of or you could, I should say. So yeah, there is, and this is again just another great example of where when the asset itself, like gold, is understood and has this widespread sort of value, there's so much positivity that can come from it. So again, I'm just going to re-emphasize it, that just the amount of RWAs that I think have these widespread intrinsic values, and therefore can sort of work in the same way as gold is, and silver, and so on and so forth. It's just mind blowing. It's really cool.
Okay, let's open those floodgates for the institutional investors to come in. It's going to be super exciting, and with all this flexibility that DeFi can create, it just makes sense. So I can't wait to use my tokenized gold to take out a DeFi loan to
right.
I don't know, buy something in the future. I don't know. I was going to say McDonald's, but that's probably a really bad example.
You want a McDonald's? It's fine. I mean, I don't judge, but it's also maybe you take the stable coin and actually, because you think where you can go, and actually take a speculative risk where your return is even higher than what we're offering on our shared APY. That would be great. It's not like we would say no. So if you would say, well, actually, Twin, I can see that I get a share of a 5.5% or 6% or whatever it is, but that's not really flicking my switch. I'm going to mint the stable coin, and I'm going to go where I think I can get a 15% APY. Great. We actually, again, it's your option. You decide. Your asset, you decide. And I think that's just a great way to sort of park that this concept. It's being devised more so people can actually choose where to go. And if that's not necessarily benefiting Twin, because we're not taking your asset and working it through our investments, so be it. Doesn't matter.
All right, this is just mind-boggling to me. So I'm going to be watching all the announcements as soon as they come out. We'll get you back on as well in the future to talk about the technicalities of how the platform's going to work. I know there's
Please do that. That'd be great.
Yeah, lots of dev work here to actually make this all happen, and then also going through the platform and seeing how it all works, user experience, everything else. So we'll talk about that later when it comes to that point in time. But in the meantime, good luck getting all of these seed closed, the TGE, the private sale, public sale, all that stuff. There's so much to it. Q2 is literally next week, just around the corner. So fingers crossed it's all a little bit sooner. Bitcoin halving is happening as well. So lots of hype, lots of attention in the crypto space again.
Yeah, but it's great to come on, and thank you for asking me, because it's, as you said, it's been some time since we last had a chat. Let's not leave it so long till the next time. But yeah, it's wonderful to give you and your listeners the update. And yeah, we're thoroughly looking forward to Q2. So thanks, Peter.
Brilliant. All right, thanks, Thomas. We'll speak again soon.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast.